Hello, everyone. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the third annual Instruction to Industry Virtual Career Expo event for high school students. My name is Matthew Bechtel, and I'll be the moderator for the Human Services Industry Panel discussion tonight. I'm a work-based learning specialist for Fairfax County Public Schools. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to these industry professionals for taking the time tonight to share their diverse perspectives on the current and future workforce in human services. We encourage you all to take advantage of this opportunity to learn from the panel. Hopefully, after leaving tonight, you will feel more knowledgeable and prepared for your post-secondary future. This panel discussion will run from 6 to 6:45. We're going to start with introductions first, and then we'll get right into the conversation. During the session, you're encouraged to share your favorite moments and what you find interesting on social media by using the tagline, #instruction2industry. That's #instruction2industry. At the end of the webinar, a link to an exit survey will be sent to you. This survey link will provide you with the ability to share your feedback on the panel discussion, and we're hoping that you make sure to stay until the very end to ensure the survey link is sent to you. So let's first start with introductions. I'm going to turn it over to our first panelist for this evening. I'm going to start with the order on my screen. So Denisha, feel free to introduce yourself. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me tonight. My name is Denisha Hamilton, and I'm the owner of Journey to Wellness. We are a group mental health practice focusing on children, teen, and adult mental health. I'm also a board member for the Ryan Bartel Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization in Loudoun County.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Denisha. Once again, happy you're here. And we're going to move to our next next panelist, Samantha.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. My name is Samantha Zaboli. I'm with Centerville Immigration Forum. We are a nonprofit dedicated to the immigrant community and providing economic mobility and championing justice and rights. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Samantha. Once again, we're happy for you to be here too. We're going to move on to our next panelist, Lisa.
Hi, I am the Assistant Executive Director at Imagination Learning Center. I've worked for our company for over 30 years, starting in an early childhood classroom as a teacher, and then moving up through the ranks to my new position as Assistant Executive Director. We serve children from birth through 5 years of age, although during the pandemic, we also provided services so that families could continue to go to work and know that their children were safe, healthy, and happy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're happy you're here tonight. And we're going to go to our next panelist, Kara.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Kara Cunningham, and I am the Director of Operations for Imagination Learning Center. Much like Lisa, I started out as a teacher in a classroom. I moved to Assistant Director and then moved to Center Director, and I am now in a new position as the Director of Operations. I have been, like Lisa, with the company for 18 years, so not quite as long as she has. But we are a nonprofit, like Lisa said, we're a nonprofit childcare center that serves families in the Chantilly, Bristow, and Gainesville area. We just added our third location in Bristow.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and happy you're here as well. All right, so we're going to get started with our session tonight. Throughout the session, I'll read a question, and each panelist will have roughly 1 to 2 minutes to share a response. So kicking off the session, our first question is going to be for Denisha. So we'll start at the top, we'll go down and go back up. And this first question is, some students may not be clear on what human services actually means. What does it mean to you, and how does your organization fit within?
It's a great question. So human services to me is any job that you interact with your community or provide a service to the community. So for me, I'm a mental health therapist, and my practice focuses on working with teens and adults because we are hands-on, we are implementing things at every level possible. We're in the schools, where we're meeting with parents, we do groups and individual, that to me is human services, that direct contact, not, sitting in an office, but we are face to face with people. We are in the muck with them. And I think to me, that's really what human service work is.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Going to move on now to Samantha. How about a response? Thank you.
Sure. So human services, not to be confused with customer service, right, is directly impacting the human community and the needs and meeting them with their needs wherever they may be. So me specifically working with the immigrant community, we look at what barriers there are within that community and how we as an organization can help take down those barriers and create access. So human services, like Denisha said, is just working with the community, and we do a lot of grassroots organizing within the community that we serve, and that's really important to the work of human services.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. And we're going to move on to Lisa.
So, in our field, human services says it all. We are dealing with people all day long. And the most important aspect of getting into any kind of human services career is you have to be a person who is all about relationships. If relationships is your strength, this is absolutely where you'll want to be and you will flourish. If you're not all people-y, then human services will not be for you.
Makes sense. Yeah, you got to be a people person. Those relationships are important. And I would think that making those relationships is a transferable skill across a lot of different career clusters. So thank you
Absolutely.
for that. Really appreciate that, Lisa. And moving on to our last but not least panelist, Kara.
Much like Lisa just said, our industry is 100% about humans. And we are typically dealing with the tiniest humans. Like Lisa said, we serve birth to 5. But we also are interacting with our staff daily. We're in classrooms all the time, floating around, but also dealing with our families. So just because you drop your child off with us for childcare, we become an extension of that family for you, because some of our children are with us for 10.5 hours a day, 5 days a week. So a lot of the times we're spending that quality time that I'm sure everyone would love to be able to do with their own children, but we always work in conjunction with the family. So it definitely, like Lisa mentioned, it definitely is a human services industry.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, my son's been in childcare for a long time, and I always think to myself, wow, the childcare providers have so much more time with my kid than I do, and I'm glad to know that they're always in good hands. So thank you for that. And we're gonna start with you for the next question, Carla. Or Kara. Carla. So one thing you wished you'd known, done, or experienced before you started in your career field.
Well, to be honest, I had started right out of college and I just thought, I'm just going to teach preschool for a little bit and just then figure out where I was going to go. I never would have seen myself progressing the way that I progressed, from all the different levels, from all the different classrooms to all the different positions. And I wish I had known that and applied myself a little bit more in the beginning to stand out, so that I would have been somebody's first pick, which eventually happened. So I definitely would have applied myself more.
All right, next, Lisa.
I would say that the thing that I wish I had known from the very beginning, when I was a younger, less tolerant person, is actually having those that education and strategy about different types of people, and how their brains work and how they put information together, and if they have, a passive personality or a stronger personality. Just having those skills and knowing about the people who you're dealing with would have made a huge difference in my early years. Just having more positive outcomes and more positive interactions.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you for sharing. All right, moving on, Smith.
Yeah, similar to what Lisa said, it's just, I guess growing up and before I came into this field, I didn't understand the the disparity between humans too, right? It's not just there are many different humans, there are also many different experiences that humans have. And so I don't think that I had, obviously there I've been around diverse communities and within my schooling and all of that, but realizing that diversity is not just what you see in your bubble, but also in a context of the world and context of other experiences. That's something that I wish I had known a little bit more before diving in. So I would have been a little bit more prepared, but that's part of the great work that I do, is learning it now.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you. Denisha.
Oh, I wish that I knew all the different things that a social worker could do. So my credentials are as a licensed clinical social worker. And when I knew I wanted to be a therapist, but I thought you had to be a psychologist to be a therapist. That is not real. I also thought social workers only worked for CPS. That is also not real. So I wish that I knew the flexibility and what this career field brought. Because I went into it blind. I love it, but I went into it really sort of learning it as I was going along, rather than having that information right at the front.
Thank you. Yeah, it sounds like we had a question about like misconceptions, and it seems like there were some misconceptions for you, and I'm sure those misconceptions are for a lot of us. That once again, that's why we started with the first question, just not knowing what everything is, and it's good to get that good grounding first, and then you can really dig in. All right, thank you. And we're going to start with you for the next question then, Denisha. So what's your favorite part about working for your company or career field? And then also the second part of that question is, what's the hardest part? So once again, what's your favorite part? And also, what is the hardest part?
So my favorite part is when I see that light bulb go off for a client, when I've said something that really sits with them, and you see that, you can see on their face that their self-esteem is building, that they're reaching their goals, that the person that walked into my office on day 1 is a totally different person by day 90 or day 500, however long it takes them. But I love watching that growth process. And I think it's an honor that people allow me to be a part of their growth process. The hardest part is watching that growth process. These stories that I hear, and I hear the ugliest parts of humankind and our human experience. And to sit with someone in that ugly is just really hard some days. But again, watching them come out of it is extremely powerful.
Thank you, Denisha. Samantha, same question.
Yeah, similar to what Denisha said, it's just it's kind of a double-sided field, right? Like, it's very rewarding when you're with people in their experiences and you get to go with them and you get to see change and you get to be you get to make impact. But at the same time, change is not easy and it's not overnight. So sometimes getting to that point of impact or getting to the point of change is hard, and it's hard because you're there in with that person making that change and in part of their story, right? So yeah, just the same thing. Like, it's a double-sided coin, right? Like, it's super rewarding, but it's also it's super hard sometimes when you have to get there.
Right. It sounds like patience is a virtue here too, and just letting the process work, right?
And small wins.
Yeah, small wins. Take your small wins. I think that's something we all deal with in any career path, right? Oh, thank you so much, Samantha. We're gonna move on to Lisa.
So I kind of feel like I'm cheating here because I know that Kara wants to say the same thing, and I'm going to get the first opportunity to say it. But one of the best things about being in the field that we're in is every day is different. There are no 2 days are alike. And there is never a time that you're going to walk into your center or your office and go, oh my gosh, I'm here again and I'm doing the same thing. You wear so many different hats. You get to do it all. And it keeps you energized. It absolutely keeps you energized. The hardest part of our field, or in my position in particular, is hiring professionals or trying to hire professionals and getting really, really, really strong, good people, teachers in your centers, and knowing that you're paying them the same as food service workers are getting right now. We are a professional industry that is not recognized for the professional background that we bring to the table. And it's heartbreaking because the teachers that come into our centers, some have been there as long as I have. And, just bringing so much to the table into these children and families and not getting out of it what they deserve and what they've earned.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, we can definitely relate being in the education field. and,
Yes,
yeah, feeling underappreciated, not here for work,
absolutely.
right?
Yep.
It's tough, but we do it. We don't do it for the money. We do it
No,
because
no,
we have the passion, and that's what drives us, right? So anyway, thank you so much. And Kara,
I swear Lisa and I are not texting each other, completely out of character for me, but 100% the best part about the job is no day is ever the same. No day is ever the same. Things always happen where you're like, did that really just happen? And then you have to pinch yourself like, am I still here? Is this really a dream? And the hardest part, 100%, is staffing right now. And I think because childcare has a lot of misconceptions about it, people assume we're babysitting, and they don't understand. And so a lot of times it's hard to find those professional teachers that want to and love doing the job that they're required to do. There's also a lot of requirements for us in terms of hiring and with licensing and making sure that we're staying regulated with who we're allowing into the building. And because we are expecting that we're taking care of these children and they go home happy and safe every day, there's a big expectation that we're hiring the right people. And that's the toughest part right now.
thank you for that. Yeah, it's definitely, the shortage you said is very real, and hiring the right people and keeping everyone going through the system, and it's all important. And yeah, a lot of challenges at the same time, but anyway, thank you for that. We're going to start with Kara for the next question then as well, and then we'll go right back up the list. So what are some of the transferable skills that make someone employable in this particular career field?
I think the best skill would be being a people person. I think because a lot of our job is also customer service, I think if you have those communication skills and you're, using your best judgment, I think that's the most important thing that we have in our field.
Yeah, the communication skills, that's a common trend. We hear that one a lot, and you're right, rightfully so. Without communication, it's hard to get anything accomplished, right? All right, we're
Sure.
gonna move to Lisa.
So Kara talked about communication and people skills. Those are soft skills that absolutely are 100% necessary. But another very transferable skill for our field, and it's the same in probably most everything, is just basic technology skills. It is knowing how to use a computer, knowing how to use Word, knowing how to use different operating system software, because even in our early childhood settings, we're communicating with families via computers and apps. And so it's really important to have good writing skills and a good basic understanding of how the current technology works, because it goes across the board for anything.
Yeah, basic technology skills are important. Basic proficiency, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. Samantha.
Adaptability for sure, because as we've heard, that's not every day is going to be the same, and you're actually going to have very different people that you're dealing with in different situations. And so being able to adapt to these different situations is a transferable skill that's definitely needed in this industry.
Yeah, that adaptability comes in handy when every day sets you with a new challenge, right? You got to always be on your feet. You got to be ready for what the next challenge brings you, and then also the multitasking too. How do you handle it all? Make it manageable so that you can separate the work life from the, the home life and everything else. It's a lot to juggle, and I'm sure we all can share that same common thread. All right, moving on.
You said balance between work life, and I have two dogs fighting for underneath my chair, so that's a lot of fun right now. The skills that I would say are really helpful are empathy and being non-judgmental. That so often I am facing situations that are so different from my reality, but approaching it with an open mind and a place of understanding. I think those are transferable skills that will apply to any job if we can just focus on the person in front of us rather than what we're assuming or what we think should be their experience. I think we'd all be in a much better place.
Very good points. Thank you so much. So I have another question here for the group, and we'll start with you then, Denisha. So to perform at this job or in your job and advance within your career field, do you need a degree? Do you need an advanced degree or even a certification? If so, where would you encourage prospective employees, our students, where would they start and what would you recommend?
So yes, you need lots of certifications and degrees. So as a bachelor level mental health professional, you can work in our field, but depending on what you want to do, you really do want to get licensed or at least have a couple of certifications under your belt. There are lots of websites that are very reputable. I think if you're looking for, like, I'm a social worker, so going on the National Association of Social Workers, there's always a list of things. College, of course, will have lots of resources. I'm a big fan of talking to your professors when you go to college. They are doing the work that you want to do. They will guide you down the right path. Like, okay, you want to do this, this might work, this might not. But I think just talking to people that are in the field, do a Google search and research someone and say, hey, can I come talk to you and interview you about what you do? I think just starting and getting your feet wet and just really, I'm going to forever be a student. So to keep my license, I have to forever take continuing education credits. And I'm all for that because it keeps me updated on the latest techniques and keeps my brain relevant to what's happening right now.
Thank you, Denisha. You bring up a really good point, and I think we can all agree that each one of us always needs to be a lifelong learner. And at any point when we think that we shouldn't be doing that, then maybe we're not in the right path, and that we need to consider what our true passion is and maybe follow that path somewhere else, because our work can suffer from that, right? And we, especially in this line of work, we don't want that to happen. So and for our students, obviously understanding that part of your post-secondary future is continuing to keep up with your certifications, keeping all of those things in order, like Denisha mentioned. It's all really important, and it's something we all live with. We have to keep these things up, and it's how we grow, it's how we learn, and it's how we stay professional. Thank you. We're going to move on to the next person.
Yeah, sure. So in the nonprofit field where I am, it's not necessary to have a degree, but it is very helpful, and especially in social services. But honestly, since human services is so broad, it really depends on what you want to do within that field in order to be able to answer this question. So for what I would say is that if you are interested in a specific field of human services, to go and volunteer. And like Denisha was saying, was do interviews and ask professors. You can actually go and volunteer at a lot of organizations and actually be on the ground and see how that is and talk to the people who are doing that job. And that will really give you a perspective because human services is such a broad field, and we have so many different areas of specializations that I would just recommend that you start as a volunteer and really feel it out.
Thank you, Samantha. I think you bring up a really good point. Volunteering is huge. And if there's opportunities that can evolve into maybe service learning or shadowing, these are all work-based learning experiences that can really help students solidify that career path that they want to pursue. And related to necessary courses, they might help them make their way to that path. So, you know, that's a common thread we've heard a lot this week too, volunteering, just getting your name out there, and getting exposure to what the field may bring you, even if it's just for an hour or two, or a couple hours, multiple hours, whatever it might be. Thank you so much. Moving to the next, Lisa.
So like Samantha said, there's not necessarily a right answer. Yes, going to college and having those, that background is fantastic. And what it does when you're in, early childhood is it almost immediately qualifies you to be a teacher, which right away, at least in our organization, means you can make more money. And that's the goal. We want to be able to pay people more of what they deserve. So going to college is definitely the best way to do that. But having said that, some of our best teachers, the best nurturers, the best communicators, I'm sorry, and now you see what it's like in my house, is our teachers that don't have that background or that experience. And we will, and we can bring you along, and we have access to courses and trainings and scholarship programs. So if you get into a field and you decide you don't like it and you think, geez, this is something that would be a better fit for me, going into early childhood, if you have the passion and the desire and the good work ethic, we can absolutely help you along and bring you to where you need to be.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Kara.
Much like Lisa said, yes, it is nice when we have those teachers that come in for interviews that have those degrees with them, but college isn't necessarily for everyone. Sometimes it's financial reasons, sometimes it's just not in the cards for you. So like Lisa mentioned, there are different programs. There's a CDA program, there's something called Pathways, in which we can help you get there. So if it's a financial burden for you, there's different things that the county and the state offer that can help you to earn those credentials to give you that same level of opportunity as somebody that may have gone to a four-year college. So we definitely encourage you when you come in to just be honest with us and talk to us about kind of what that path looks like for you. And then we'll help you throughout all the different steps and encourage you to do that.
Awesome. It sounds like you're taking that coaching approach and really helping support those individuals with their professional goals or help them reach those professional goals. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I'm going to start with you, Kara, again for this next question. Is your career field expected to need high numbers of new employees in the next few years? And then the second part of this is the field experiencing big changes that will evolve the industry or professional needs?
Absolutely. I think we touched on this earlier. We are 100% in need of new teachers and new opportunities. We'd actually love to see some males get involved in the early childhood education field. And right now, yes, our industry is definitely evolving and changing. It's, no longer looked at as babysitting, but research has shown how much brain develops. It's actually 90% of your brain development occurs during birth to 5 years old. So we're not in front of TV screens. We're not on computers. The kids are doing hands-on learning. And we absolutely have seen so many changes from gone for the days of just learning your alphabet to now realizing that kids learn better when it's not in alphabetical order. So there's definitely lots of changes coming, and we're excited to see what that leads us for our field.
Awesome. Thank you, Kara. Lisa.
So does our field anticipate high numbers? Yes, I think that if there's one thing that COVID brought out, it is a need for a high quality early childhood education and child care background across this entire country. COVID just exacerbated the situation because a lot of small centers couldn't survive that time period. And so now the need for more programs is just absolutely in the forefront of everyone's mind. For us, one of the advantages of it being in the forefront of everybody's mind, and in Virginia in particular, is people are looking at us and they're going, hey, there's this field that's been undervalued for decades, and we're just realizing it now because this apocalyptic thing happened to us. And with that happening, the attention is where it needs to be, for our field in particular. Seeing grants come in and seeing money there for our staff and for our children is just so heartening, especially for someone like myself who has been in the career field for 30 plus years. Are we evolving? Absolutely. One of the biggest changes that we've undergone in the last 3 years, and we knew that it was coming before COVID happened, but we went from being under the umbrella of Department of Social Services to the Department of Education. And again, that's the community, the greater community, finally realizing that we are professionals. And being under the Department of Education, well, yes, there have been, some little glitches and challenges. Overall, just getting in a field where people recognize that we're not babysitters and we are educators is huge for us and so positive. And I'm not at retirement age, but I'm, looking at that end more than ever. And to me, my greatest legacy will be able to leave a field in a stronger position than it absolutely was when I was hired with a bachelor's degree in the field out of college at $8.50 an hour. So it's exciting to see that early childhood is finally moving in the right direction. And I'm sorry, that was my soapbox.
No, this is your time. Feel free. Thank you so much, Lisa. Same question, Samantha.
Yeah, so definitely there are always going to be openings. But I guess the thing in this field is that things are always changing, needs are always changing. So depending on what the laws permit or what the climate is, especially for me working with immigrants, it depends on what the political climate is and what the need is at the time. So honestly, it's always changing. So staffing is also changing, right? So just for example, during COVID, we had to suspend a lot of our regular programming and focus more on direct services because our population was needing more emergency services, and we pivoted from typical like know your rights for labor and immigration into actual health outreach and vaccine outreach. And so with that pivot, and I could just say within those 3 years, our funding completely changed and our staffing actually changed too. We added 4 additional workers that were just health outreach workers. So staffing is always something that is going to be needed in the nonprofit field, but what goes with that is also that there's a change based on what the needs are within the community that you serve.
I guess it goes back to that other point of adaptability, meeting this is a career path that there's always going to be change, and there's always going to be different ways we pivot into opportunities that will hopefully be helpful for those we serve. All right, next.
So the world of mental health is definitely changing and growing. I think that, like Lisa said, COVID really brought a lot to the forefront. I think we as humans have always needed mental health supports, but I think COVID really brought that out and also sort of normalized it, that it was no longer the stigma of, well, something has to be wrong with you. It was, we are all going through something awful and we are not okay. I think with having more people of color, people in the BIPOC community coming to therapy, more athletes acknowledging their mental health, I think it's definitely increasing in the field. One of the hard things that I have is making sure that I have enough interns and residents and therapists on staff because the calls come pretty frequently, which actually warms my heart. I love I love having the influx of new therapists coming in, but also people wanting that support and just acknowledging the same way that we work on our dental hygiene and our physical hygiene, your mental hygiene is just as important. And it is so important to be consistent with it. So yes, the field is growing, and I think it's actually going to continue to grow. Fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed. Yes, definitely. All right, thank you for that. And so we're going to start the next question, and this will probably be our last one for this evening. I also want to remind students that are on the call that if you would like to ask this dynamic panel any questions whatsoever, you can use the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to drop those questions in, and we can either answer those live, or they can be, our panelists can type answers to them. So whatever if you have anything, any burning desire, questions you'd like to ask, now's the time to do it while we have this great panel on. All right, so Denisha, I'm starting with you. And this last question is a really good one. In your opinion, what is the single most important thing students can do when thinking about pursuing positions in these types of career paths?
Oh, that's a hard one. Thanks for calling on me first, Matt.
Sorry about that.
I think the single most important thing you can do is talk to someone in the field. I think that it is just so valuable to understand what you're getting into. Do a capstone project, to do your research, talk to your doctors, talk to anyone, but just really educate yourself and be open and flexible to the ups and downs of the career. I think thanks for putting me on the spot, Matt. I'm gonna go with that one.
No. I apologize, but it was still a great answer. I mean, that's what these sessions are all about, making connections and making sure that our students are asking the right people. And we have those mentors, those trusted professionals that are available to support our students through the schools. We have great mentoring programs in our schools that we love to connect students to. And so yeah, thank you for that. Next, same question. I'll move it on to Samantha.
Absolutely. Same. It's just finding what motivates you, right? You need to find what motivates you, what drives you, what do you want to be doing for the next 30, 40, 50 years, right? And if that is making an impact within the community that you live or with people or a specific population, then this is the right field. But like I said before, like you really want to get your hands dirty before you make this commitment. So, and there are so many opportunities within this field to do that through volunteering and talking and mentoring. So really for me, what I would say is just find out what drives you. And if that sort of impact is what you want to see, like if you want to be a change maker, then this is the field, right? So just find what drives you and go for it.
You bring up a really good point. What drives you, finding that passion and then aligning it with some of those strengths strengths and abilities and seeing where it can take you. Thank you for that. So it looks like we shuffle a little bit, but I'll go back to Lisa again, then Kara. Go ahead, Lisa.
I would say that when you're choosing a career, when you're looking at what you potentially want to do for the rest of your life, organize your priorities. If your priorities are making a lot of money, then that's going to limit what you're going to choose to do. But if that's what feeds your passion, then by all means do it. Just know what it is. Many years ago, my mother wanted me to be a public school teacher. And she kept saying, I want you to have enough money to do this. I want you to have stability. I want you to have this. And, after having this discussion again and again with her, I said, you know what? The most important thing in the world for me is I want to be happy. I want to be passionate about my job every day, and I want to be happy. And the rest of it, I'll figure out. So, figure out your priorities and then choose to be happy.
Wow. Wonderful statement. Thank you so much for that. Kara, we'll round off the panel with you.
Sure. I think I would also encourage anybody looking into this field to potentially go and tour a facility and see what an early childhood education facility looks like. I know for myself personally, I wasn't a childcare child. I never went to childcare. And so I didn't understand it really at first. And so I think if you go and talk to the directors and just kind of pick their brains a little bit and just say, how did you start off, and see kind of where that guides you. But I would definitely take the hands-on approach and just take a peek at, the different centers, and they're all different. I mean, there's for-profit childcare centers, there's home daycares, there's non-for-profit childcare centers like ours. So immerse yourself and put yourself in the actual facility so that you can see what you're getting into before you commit to something like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. What a great conversation we had tonight. Really appreciate all of these perspectives. So first, we'd like to thank all the panelists that were able to provide these unique perspectives related to these different areas of the workforce for human services. We hope you found tonight to be informative and relevant to your own career interests and goals. I didn't see any questions in the chat, so we'll hopefully just
I
close
see
out.
one, Matt.
Yes.
It
Sorry?
says, there's one question that I see.
Oh, there is?
I think it's probably for me.
Oh, I did not see that. Please. Was it the one? In mental health, is there much opportunity to work remotely for a larger percent of your week in certain jobs? Where would those positions most likely be kind of? Yeah, sorry, I didn't see that one. I was looking.
No
at-
problem.
Go ahead.
So yes, I can answer that. So virtual work has become very, very popular due to COVID. I was actually doing virtual work beforehand because I work with a lot of college age students. So transitioning them from high school to college was very big. But yes, I have 5 people on my team that only work remotely. I think it depends on what you want to do in mental health, but therapy specific, yes, there are opportunities for remote work.
Awesome, thank you, Anisha. All right, so students, please remember that if you're interested in learning more about any of these particular or any particular career paths that were discussed during this session or other sessions, please feel free to join us. We want you to join us at the upcoming Career Fair and Expo scheduled for Saturday, February 17th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Dulles Expo Center, where you'll see panelists like the ones today and other organizations from all over the 17 career clusters there and willing to talk with you, talk about your future goals, and figure out a plan to support you the best way that you help you figure out your plan to best support you. But once again, we would like to thank our panelists for joining us this evening. This concludes our session, and the session will soon close. A brief exit survey will launch automatically from Zoom when you close this virtual session. So please take a moment to complete the survey to let us know what you thought was good, great, and what might need improvement. All right, everyone, please enjoy the remaining time this evening and have a wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.